Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 162 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, Knowing Wheel is back for our second podcast of the week. Of course, earlier on we did our 2024 championship predictions. This time round we are back to preview the Bahrain Grand Prix. And of course, as always, I'm joined by Jamie183. How are we doing, my guy?
I'm good. I'm very excited because Formula 1 is back. As we record this, there's already track action happening live for Formula 2. And by the time this goes out, there'll be a few practice sessions in. Ideal. We're almost there. One more day, and it's all good.
It is about to be fantastic, isn't it? I'm so hyped for a new season. And actually, I mean, I'm sure by the end of Sunday, all hopes will be lost again. But there does seem to be a few little bits and pieces that have come out this week that have hopefully given us a little bit more excitement. Also, a few pieces this week that have meant that we've received a lot of hate on the internet as well. It's safe to say people weren't a fan of our predictions, were they?
I mean, yeah. You put 20 drivers in order. Some of them are going to be a bit lower than some others, aren't they? So that's part of being an online personality, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
we love it. It's good engagement.
Well, it seems that I've been kind of the one taking most of the hate going into the new season, which is to be expected, to be honest.
And you look like Max Verstappen.
And apparently I look like Max Verstappen now, which might be the worst thing anyone has ever said to me in my history on this planet. But, yeah, we have got a few bits and pieces to go through, haven't we, Jamie? Of course, we kind of spoke during our predictions about the end of winter testing. But actually, as you mentioned to me as we go into the show, pretty much only Alpine don't feel like they've made good progress heading into the new season, which gives us a bit of promise that there might be a bit more of a mix-up than we'd anticipated.
Yes, or if not a mix-up, certainly they'll all be closer. Because I think that was one of the problems last year, is that you had the top five by the end. You had the top five teams, and you had Alpine, and you had the bottom four. So every race, you could kind of pick 8 of your 10-point scorers quite comfortably. But every team, like, apart from Alpine, the other 9 teams have all said they think the field is much closer than it was last year. So I'm not saying Red Bull won't win. I still think Red Bull will win the first race, but everyone else just being closer and the field spread being lower is really good for the sport. Because if you can have, like, 7 or 8 teams, which is, I know is optimistic, but it happens occasionally, available of fighting for points, fighting for Q3, that just massively raises the unpredictability going race to race, which is a great thing for the sport.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, again, it might well be that, when you sort of look at the way last season worked out, had Red Bull not been there, there would have probably been quite a few occasions where 8 teams were in the fight for points quite reliably, but Red Bull, of course, were there, and it made things a little bit more difficult. But it does give you the sense that we could be in, maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, but maybe like a 2012 season where we've got a lot of teams suddenly able to perform quite well on random weekends. Is it hopium?
I think 2012 is a bit optimistic because we have 6 different teams winning races that season, which we might not be far off, to be fair. I think it's possible we have 5. I struggle to see who the 6th team would be winning a race, but you never know. A random Italy 2020 or such like that, then it could happen. But yeah, I think I'm excited, especially for the lower midfield, so the Williams, the Sauber, the Haas. If they're close, if they're within touching distance of the top 5 teams, I think that'd be really good because it closes off strategy options for the top 5. They're less free to do what they want. And I don't know, always seeing an Albon or a Joe or a Hulkenberg just turning up in 6th on the grid or 6th in the race is always quite fun. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, when you think, of course, as you mentioned there, it seems unlikely to see 6 teams winning a Grand Prix. In the last, 4 years, 6 teams have won Grand Prix, and it was almost 7 with George Russell's pole lap, obviously, in Belgium 2021.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of feels like most of those teams have made progress as well since then. Obviously, apart from Alpine, of course.
I think we have had 6 teams
yeah, we have.
in one race.
We have had 6 Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Alpine, and obviously Racing Point, which is now Aston Martin.
And McLaren and AlphaTauri.
I just said McLaren.
Oh, did you?
Have we had 7 teams win a race?
Everyone bar Haas, Sauber,
and Williams.
Yeah.
Every other team has won a race since the turn of the decade.
millennium.
That is wild. Absolutely wild to think about, isn't it? So, yeah, people that say last year again, of course, we were the people saying Formula 1 wasn't.
We're brushing it under the carpet.
We are going to try and brush 2023 under the carpet as quickly as possible, which I think everyone will want to do, unless your name is Max Verstappen. But I feel like Formula 1 needs one of those wild seasons again, doesn't it? Where we just get a year of complete unpredictability.
Oh, I would love it. To be fair, all it takes is a bit of unreliability from the Honda power unit or from Red Bull, which is a bit of an ask given how bulletproof they were last year. But you never know. Or a little bit of a kamikaze move into turn 1, take out both Red Bulls. I think you're on for a great season if it happens every race.
Someone has to nominate themselves as tribute every single weekend.
There's 24 drivers. Everyone has one go each, and then Max can win 4 races.
Where is it 24 drivers on the grid?
Oh, yeah, 24 races, sorry. 24 races. If one driver does it one each, Max will win the other 4. There you go.
Fair enough. I love the optimism there, Jamie. I'm sure that won't see us get any hate as well. The big news, though, coming into the weekend has got to be the Red Bull and Christian Horner, isn't it? Obviously, we've kind of just stepped around this as best as possible. We haven't tried to speculate too much, but, well, the facts are now that, of course, he is keeping his seat within that team, isn't he?
He is. He's been cleared of any wrongdoing, and the court case is over. So, yeah, obviously, there's no crime, I guess. So he's back to how it was before. So, yeah, I'll flip it out.
What on earth is going on in your
Yeah, that's a fun morning. So he's back. Jonathan Whitley will not be taking over. Christian Horner will not be losing his job. And, good for him. I hope it was a fair trial, and I hope everything was done properly. But he's back, and I hope for his sake that it's not like something that keeps getting asked now that it's over.
I think it will early on in the season, but again, it's one of those horrible things again where obviously this is part of the reason why we tried not to discuss it too much. But of course, the amount of people I'm already seeing now with their tinfoil hats on, going, oh, well, it could be, a big team, an internal investigation, all this, that, and the other. And, obviously, inside any company like that, especially one as big as Red Bull, there is always going to be internal politics. But I guess we've never claimed to be unbiased on this show, have we? But all, of course, that we can say is that the process has been followed, and clearly that is the outcome that has been decided upon. And, of course, whether it gets brought back up again or not, well, we might never mention it again on the show, mightn't we?
Hopefully not. Yeah, and all of the Dutch papers who are reporting it was over. That's good credibility for them as well. Exactly.
Moving on, though. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult to talk too much about each kind of team individually, who we're expecting to be strong, everything else, because, of course, we've got no real data to go on heading into the weekend. So that'll make our predictions at the end of the show rather interesting to make, or maybe not. We'll wait and see. But Perez, interestingly, has come out this week believing that Red Bull don't actually have much, if any, of an advantage at all over the likes of Mercedes, McLaren and Ferrari. And I don't know if you saw this as well, but apparently it's been reported that Lewis Hamilton seems incredibly happy going around this weekend, which again is more hopium for me.
Well, I think they've basically listened to him. I watched the old the Wednesday roundup, I guess it is now, because the press day was yesterday for the Formula 1 teams and drivers. But George Russell's interview, interestingly, was basically just talking about Lewis Hamilton. So he was like, the team's gone down Lewis's path of design in terms of the seat is a bit further back in the wheelbase and the steering rack is different from last year. And they've obviously got this Red Bull-esque side pod design. So I think George was a little bit less happy than he would like to be, because it feels like they've followed Lewis's philosophy quite hard in the development of this car. hence Lewis is probably very happy because it will suit his driving style quite a lot, and maybe not George's. And then Lewis has gone and screwed him over anyway and left. But we'll see. Yeah,
there is a small element of that, isn't there, as well? Where if you're George Russell, if you've kind of come in, and I mean, 2023, as we said, was a really disappointing year for George. But obviously, it kind of followed a similar philosophy to 2022, didn't it? Which obviously suited him a bit better. If he now feels that suddenly he's at a big disadvantage to Lewis, and Lewis is leaving the team at the end of the year anyway, I feel you're going to be a little bit hard done by, aren't you? Especially if, this is going to be the year where you prove yourself as the number one within that team. Are you going to be able to do that if you've got a car that is very much still set up for your 7-time Formula 1 World Champion teammate?
Exactly. It might be a struggle for George, but I'm glad Lewis is happy because it means he might be closer to the front of the grid. That'd be great. Great for him.
Here we go then. Here we go. Jamie183, is Lewis Hamilton going to win a Formula 1 Grand Prix in 2024?
I really hope he does. I don't want him to win many. I want him to I want him to win one at least. I think he will.
I would assume then, if Hamilton wins this season, it will be the longest time span that a driver has been winning Grand Prix in the sport. Like, I can think of a few that have sort of been around, the 13, 14 year mark.
How long would that be?
07 to 2024, 17 years.
17 years.
I mean, very few careers have spanned that long.
Alonso could if he wins a race this year.
Alonso could as well. that could up it up to 21.
Kimmy's would have been 03 to 2018.
15 years. Schumacher was 14 years. I'm trying to think. Those are the two biggest I can think of.
I guess Lauda might be up there because he went a long time, didn't he?
No, not particularly though. He obviously 84, I think was his last, or 84. I think it was 84. Wasn't
he won
it?
75 and 84 were his most distant championships, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, which is the longest gap between championships ever in the sport as well, isn't it?
His first win. Oh yeah, it's only 11 years. His first and last wins were in his championship winning season. Interesting.
Yeah. So it would be very, very interesting, wouldn't it? If it's so. Yeah, go on then. Is Hamilton going to win a Grand Prix this year?
Yes.
Hey!
There you go. I'm just going to go fully for it. There's going to be 5 different teams winning races. Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Alonso, all of them get a win. Why not?
It would be wild to see, wouldn't it? And I mean, let's hope then that Formula 1, you don't give the same kiss of death as what you've done many a year in FIA Formula 2. Obviously, I've now started talking about Formula 2 on a slightly separate page that is very similar style to Knowing Wheel, but of course this is more our baby, if you will. So it's kind of like I've got a half child that you don't know about hidden on the side.
Wow.
Discussing
Outrageous.
that. But let's just quickly talk about FI Formula 2 then, Jamie, because of course we both try and follow it as best as we can. Probably the most hyped ever season, isn't it, going in? But what are you expecting to happen?
I think Prema will probably win because they tend to.
Yep.
I guess you've got a bunch of attention on it practically because we think obviously Antonelli might get that Mercedes seat if he has a good season. So that'll be very interesting. I do think the Prema lineup of Antonelli Behrman is top. Like that's exciting, and they're both crazily young. So I think that's kind of why everyone is. Yeah, those two names will be mainstays in Formula 1. And so that's kind of why everyone's eyes are on this season now. But there's a lot of good drivers in there. Obviously, a bunch of good rookies. So you got like Miata is quite exciting. Colapinto obviously won Formula 3. Am I right in saying?
No, Bortoletto.
Oh well, there you go. My knowledge is through the floor again. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of good drivers from last year who've obviously stayed. So Zane Maloney was pretty solid. I've got a friend who knows him. Just a little shout out. Isaac Hadjar obviously was okay towards last season. He's topped practice as we speak. So, yeah, there's going to be Victor Martins, I think, will be strong because he was most of last season. Yeah, it should. An F2 is always just ridiculously unpredictable. We're going to get like 12 different winners probably as a normal season for F2. So, yeah, it will be very exciting. And I think it's always worth a watch. Just F2. Like, if F1 seems predictable, or even if everyone sees unpredictable, Formula 2 just takes it up to another level.
It is incredible, isn't it? I think it's probably the series we are more excited to watch, isn't it? Throughout this year as well. And of course, qualifying for that is probably about the same time as this podcast is going live. So double check where you can watch it wherever you are in the world. And if you haven't watched it before, give it a view, because especially with the new cars this year, it is going to be absolutely wild then. Obviously, I've already made my Formula 2 predictions for the season. I have said it is going to be Ollie Behrman, Antonelli, and Victor Martin as your top three in that order. Jamie, are you going differently? Are you going to give another F2 driver the kiss of death?
Am I? I mean, I want to use my powers to serve my own, because I want Alonso to go to Mercedes, to be honest, in 2025. So, shall I back Antonelli to win the championship?
I really hope you
definitely doesn't. I will go. I don't want to be boring, but I do think. Actually, they're both rookies. Victor Martins, up the French. He's going to win.
It's going to be back-to-back French Formula 2 champions.
Behrman and Antonelli, I'm just like, they're both rookies. I know Prema.
Behrman's not.
Yes, he's not. I'm an idiot.
What is going on?
It's early. Blame that. I'll go Behrman then. He looks a bit like you, actually.
You're saying I look like an 18-year-old.
Look at his Wikipedia picture. I could see a bit of you in him.
Well, to be fair, when I used his car for my F2 career mode, of course, we got the same 3-letter initials, which was you.
There you go. I'll say Behrman's going to win from Victor Martins, and let's pick a name out of the hat, really, isn't it?
Are you not even suggesting Antonelli's going to get top 3?
Well, for my agenda, he can't. If he finishes top 3, he probably drives that Mercedes. So, you know what? Shout out to Louis. I'm going Zane Maloney.
So you're saying Behrman, Martin, Zane Maloney?
Yes. Maloney won a race or two. No, he didn't.
Yeah,
he got a couple of podiums last year.
Yeah, so he did all right last year.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously, we spoke about then, obviously, Prema. I'm trying to think back. Obviously, we've already kind of spoke about how Ollie Behrman is basically going to be in Haas for 2025, isn't he? You know, the amount of testing he's doing, it kind of seems like Haas to kind of go, well, we've got to develop one driver for the future.
Yeah.
Obviously, Antonelli looks unless he has an absolute stinker of the season, I think he'll either go Mercedes or, you know, he might get put in the Williams or something like that.
I don't know. He's so young, it could end up being a F2 season.
But I think for Mercedes, it's about, well, if we give him a year to develop in 2025, ready for the new regs, it's going to be well worth it.
Potentially.
Give him a year to settle into Formula 1.
I think we said the same thing about Dennis Hauger, didn't we?
So we did. Well. Hauger was easily the first of a bad jinx we've done to junior drivers. But, yeah, going back, though, to my original point, I'm trying to think, has there ever been a time in FI Formula 2 before now, or even GP2 before that, where two drivers from the same team basically look destined to get a Formula 1 drive next year? Obviously, we've had driver lineups where both drivers have made it to Formula 1. And obviously, Latifi and De Vries a few years ago for Dams and that kind of thing. But has there ever been a team where both drivers inside one team have...
But going way back, I guess the Hamilton-Piquet lineup people were quite hyped about back in 2006. So
yeah, I suppose you're bang on, aren't you? Because they both made
both of them did.
Although Piquet was 08, wasn't he? Or did he get in 07?
Piquet was 08, yeah. So it wasn't the year after. I guess technically, was that a year out? Giovinazzi, Gasly, were they not? They weren't the same team, were they? They were just title rivals.
I thought Giovinazzi... No, it was Van Dorn, wasn't it, that dominated a couple of years beforehand?
Yeah, that was 2015, the Gasly Giovinazzi season. No, it was 2016. Yeah, so they technically did both debut in 17, didn't they? But under different circumstances. Yeah, Verlaine got injured, didn't he? Gio came in at the start.
Did he? I don't remember any of this.
Verlaine got a back injury, and Gio came in for Melbourne and China, and then smashed it up twice in China, didn't he?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, so interesting then.
Yeah,
but I think
it will be spicy. Prema is going to be one to watch for sure.
And we've got, of course, an even bigger Formula 3 season as well, which we won't talk about too much on this show, simply for the idea that neither of us know enough
anything
to feel that we can warrant a conversation about it. Yeah, I'm hyped though for that. I'm really hyped. Even if Formula One ends up being really poor again, I am hyped up for that in 2024. Shall we do predictions, Jamie, or have you got a quiz for me?
I'll do a little quiz first. I think you're going to like
I'm
this
nervous for this. I'm nervous for this.
Because all the time you ask me to just reel off race winners.
Yep.
It feels like. And I really never asked you to do the same.
Oh, no.
Until today. So
it's because you're way better at this than I am.
It is a season opener this weekend in Formula One. So, going backwards, you're going to name the winner of the season opener. Whatever track that was.
Oh, dearie me. Okay, I've got to think about this then.
There's no time pressure. I've written down back to 2005 in the hope you won't get much further than that.
Okay. So 2023 was Max. 2022 was Charles.
Yes.
2021 was Lewis in Bahrain as well.
Indeed.
2020 was Austria. However, I believe it was Bottas.
Yes, it was.
That won the first race of the season. 2019 was Australia again. And I believe it was Bottas again? Because that was that To Whom It May Concern?
Yes, it was. There you go. Doing well.
2018 was that Australia? It was 2018 season opener. Yeah, I'm pretty certain it was. So Seb.
Yes.
Despite the fact Lewis absolutely dominated and got destroyed by a safety car.
A VSC.
2017 was Australia. That was also Seb.
He won properly that year as well, didn't he?
He did. 2016 was Rosberg in Australia.
Yes.
2015 was Lewis in Australia.
Yes.
2014 was Rosberg again in Australia.
Yes.
2013 was Kimi Räikkönen in Australia.
It was. Doing well.
2012 was... Obviously, it was the first of 7 winners, but I don't think it was Australia, was it, that year? Was Australia the season opener? Actually, yeah, I think it might have been. But... it was 2012 season opener. For some reason, I've got... I don't know if 2012 Australia was season opener, but I've got in my head that Jenson Button won the Australian Grand Prix that year.
Is that what you're going for?
If it's right.
Well, it is right. There you go. Carry on.
Okay. 2011 was Seb.
Yes.
2010 was Bahrain and Fernando.
Yes. You're getting close to mine.
2009
Get some more tabs open here.
2009 was Jenson Button for Brawn.
It was.
2008 was Lewis.
Yes.
2007 was Kimi, I believe, because it was Alonso Hamilton 2-3.
Yes.
2006. Oh, dearie me. I mean, I do that on F1 Championship Edition all the time.
There you go. So you know what the first race is.
So that was Bahrain. I mean, it's either Fernando or Michael, wasn't it? I think Bahrain was... Because, yeah, it definitely wasn't Fisichella. Because I know he won. Or it was either Fisichella or Trulli. It must have been Fisichella that won a different year. I'm going to say... Because I think Michael won round 2, 3, and 4. And then Alonso won 4 in a row. So I'm going to say Alonso?
Correct.
2005 season opener was again Australia, I think. Or was it 06 that Fisichella won in Bahrain? No, I'm gonna stick with what I think, which I don't know what I think. No, let's say Fisichella.
For 05?
Yeah.
Yes.
2004 was the Michael.
You've outdone my list here. All right, you're correct. It was the Michael.
2003 was that? Oh, I mean, the thing is now I've got in my head that it might be the man that you always forget. But I don't know. It must have, yeah, because where else would have been hosting Grand Prix before Bahrain came in? It's always been Bahrain or Australia, isn't it? Was 2003 David Coulthard?
It was. You've remembered him. Well done.
2002 was Michael, I believe, in the old car. Like they were still using the 2001 car.
I think you've broken my record. This is incredible.
2001, I believe, for some reason I've got in my head that I don't think it was Ferrari. I think, was it DC or Mika? I'm gonna say, I'm gonna get this one wrong, but I'm gonna say David Coulthard, 2001?
Sadly not. It was Michael
it
Schumacher.
Oh, damn it. For some reason I thought it was 2000 Michael.
DC was second.
Was it David in 2000? Right.
David was 2000, I think, again.
Oh,
you did it incredibly well.
Honestly,
you asked me a
that's
similar
much better
question
than I
about
thought.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but that was slightly different, though, and my knowledge, like yours, isn't as extreme.
Problem is, you get to the early 2000s and 90s, and you do way better than I do. It's just we never get that far.
Yeah, I suppose.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Not bad. Not bad.
I could have done more than that, but there we are. There we are. Right. Well, then, I've predicted successfully all the way back to 2002, Jamie. Now it's our job to predict
2024.
So, if you don't know how this works, basically Jamie and I run a very simple point system where we have to predict pole position and the podium. However, obviously on sprint weekends, we have to do the sprint winner as well, or are we going to change that up this year?
Just the sprint winner, I think.
Just the sprint winner still, okay.
Yeah.
So you get 2 points if you get them bang on. So, of course, you can only get 2 or nothing for qualifying and 2 or nothing for the sprint. However, for the Grand Prix, if you get a driver correctly on the podium but in the wrong place, you get 1 point. So a maximum, obviously, on a normal weekend of 8 points up to grab. But, of course, obviously on a sprint weekend, that is bumped up to 10. Are we... So people have been suggesting, Jamie, that what we need to do this year is whoever loses has to rep Lance Stroll for a week.
I do quite like that.
Are we doing
You've got
that,
the cap
or are we
for it already.
I have, yeah. And the t-shirt, to be fair.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are we going to do that?
We could do a tweet
Stroll.
too.
A tweet as well. It will include
I guess a tweet could
surely.
be part of Lance Stroll repping.
Surely, okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that then. We'll do that this year. So, pole position, top 3, Jamie183. What are you saying?
Yes. I'm glad I'm going first, because that means I can be really boring and no one will have
Oh, no.
Pole position, Max Emiliano Verstappen.
Oh, of course.
P1, Max Emiliano Verstappen.
Okay.
P2, Sergio Perez.
Okay.
P3, Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
Very predictable. Okay. That's probably the favourites for those positions.
Very predictable.
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't think many people would have Perez second this year.
Okay. I'm intrigued. I'm going different. It's the start of the season. I can afford to be a bit brave early on.
Okay.
Pole position, Charles Leclerc.
Wow. You really are going different. Fair play.
Yep. Race winner, Max Verstappen. I'm going less exciting there. P2, Charles Leclerc. Actually, no. I'm going to say Charles Leclerc. No, yeah, we'll stick with that. And P3, I'm going to say will be Lewis Hamilton.
Interesting. I like that. I'd be happy if that was the podium. I'd be bored if I had my podium. But you know what?
Oh, good. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, there's no more iconic duo than a Leclerc pole and Max win.
Exactly. I feel like it's going to be one more, but I think it's going to be more Leclerc does an absolute banger on Friday
Doesn't
night.
Max have more wins from Leclerc poles than he does from his own poles?
Yes.
Is that yeah, it's crazy.
He doesn't actually win many from his own pole positions, weirdly.
Well, he doesn't get poled often, does he?
No, exactly. Max Verstappen, people go on about how, like, you know, don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic driver. I'm never going to argue against that. But he's not that great a qualifier.
No, he's like an average qualifier. I guess a bit like Alonso, where he's...
average is unfair, but yeah, he's a lot more like Alonso. Yeah, but he'll show up more on
I think I want to throw out a few other bits of prediction that there's nothing riding on this at all, so I can just say what I want.
Okay.
I think both Alpines will be out in Q1. I think we'll see one of those next bottom three, so the Sauber, Williams, and Haas. I think you'll get one of those in Q3. One of those drivers. And I think you'll also get one of the Racing Bulls in Q3 too.
Interesting.
I really want it to be... It's going to be a close... Stroll out in Q2 in P15.
Well, that's not that bold a call, is it?
Bold calls.
Who do you think is a surprise for points?
Surprise for points. I would love it to be Zhou Guanyu.
Of course,
so I'm going to go and say that.
He did score points on his F1
He did score points. He scored points here in 2022. So yeah, there you go. Into Kick Sauber. We love it.
Fair enough.
How about you?
Whatever it's called, Sauber. I'm going to say points to kickstart the year that's a bit rogue is going to be Nico Hülkenberg.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that.
I'm going to back your man. It's a new year.
I do think
we're gonna
Danny Rick will probably get points as well.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Have we got anything else to add, though, Jamie? It's certainly been a day of bold predictions, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Obviously,
I think we've got everything.
Wonderful. We'll be back then Tuesday, most likely. Well, yeah, we'll discuss after the show.
Yeah.
Probably be Tuesday with a post-show, post-race, analysis, even we should say, of the Bahrain Grand Prix. But Formula 1 is back, baby. I am so excited for it. Please do make sure you drop a sub as well. We are getting very, very close to 500 now here on the official No One Wheel YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll be back next week then. Let us know your top 3 as well, down in the comments for fun.